Hello again, Grown Black Folks Talk on the Climb, a tale of two black men, round 2, part 2. When you lived so poorly that your family had to clean up like Oceangate after the implosion of the Titan. This is another one of those things. Like I told you in the previous video, there's a lot of stuff I couldn't get into because there was a settlement. There is a pending investigation on this one that I was a part of. Not officially, but the woman who truly loved this gentleman, out of the 4 he was entertaining at that time, was receiving competing reports about his whereabouts. Was he dead or alive? He was 53. So, of course, that seems to be a little early. Except, unfortunately, and this is not a pleasant thing to say, if you follow Kevin Samuels' advice, you might get Kevin Samuels' results. So, me being the professional journalist that I am, I said, no, she asked me to do a specific thing that would have involved dishonesty. I'm like, absolutely not. My question to you is, why do you even feel the need to do anything like that? Aren't you glad you're separated from that ball of confusion? But I tell you what I will do. I will use the internet from right here and look it up and see what I can find out. But there ain't nowhere in the world I'm going to touch that ball of confusion, and you not either. You're not either. I was like, no. But see, that's the thing. As women, black men complain about black women not loving them. Gentlemen, you will never be loved as much anywhere else. No group of women is going to sacrifice the way black women have traditionally sacrificed, even after we have been hurt desperately. If something goes down, we still try to make it happen most of the time. Now, I realize some of the younger members of the situation may feel, your results may vary. I realize that there are some women who are in their 20s who are just like, I know I have never been taken care of or respected or protected, so forget it. Then you got to look at divestment and hypergamy. But even women who are married to other races of men, that doesn't necessarily mean they hate black men. Sometimes stuff just happens. Sometimes you meet your person, and that person happens to be a different phenotype. But she still wanted to know the truth. Now, the situation was deeply confused because when you live a life in confusion, that's what you get. The people around them were engaged in the general black community confusion that you see online, except they just were older. So word of mouth, telephone, social media, blah, blah, blah. Older social media, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to check the social media, and then I keep a background check app for $30 a month available so that I can keep up with people invite me for coffee. I at least see what they look like on paper. I have a set of criteria by which I assess yes or no. Hint, I look for criminal activity. That's one big hint. I have a background check service online that I use. So I went on and looked into this. And what I noticed was I did the background check info first. Got a lot of stuff. And then cross-checked it by social media. But on social media, this was the day before Oceangate, the company that owns the Titan, did their social media cleanup. His sister, his mom, his son, his page was taken down. All of them went radio silent. And all his friends, and there was a date at which they all went silent, within about a week of each other. They cleaned up faster than Oceangate. It took Oceangate, the company that was founded by Stockton Rush, that went down there like a fool and got himself and 4 other people killed. It took them a month. His widow, for whatever reason, did not think to clean up the social media until a month after the implosion. This particular group of individuals took a week. I mean, for real. And then as I looked through the background check, I began to understand what was going on. See, this individual had been calling the woman who really loved him, but he was calling through the book a couple, 3-4 years ago. And I knew this was what was going on, because this is what the end is almost always like. I see men online talking about, if a woman does this and that, she deserves a piece of a man's heart. Well, here's what's going to happen. All those pieces of your heart going to be out there running around loose, not thinking about you. Because no woman of any value is going to stay with you unless she can have your whole heart. Gentlemen, understand. You're piecemealing yourself into an early grave. This gentleman called through to find out if he could get some money from these women. Of course she told him. Of course. That was a couple of years ago. The public records say that in this couple of years, he moved several times, and he moved several times to addresses that had members of his family's name in it. Because I was able to do pretty much his whole family tree. So he's out here bouncing from place to place at the end, that last 2-3 years. Bouncing from spot to spot, basically couch surfing homeless. He's got a 19-year-old son. His graduation picture, 18-19, is his mom, his grandma, his father is not even there. Complete shutout. There's a graduation picture of his grandmother. This gentleman's mother still has her. No man anywhere in that picture. He's bouncing from place to place. Last known address, he had moved in with his 90-year-old uncle and his aunt of comparable age. So, like I said, the sister lived there for a while, moved on to the aunt and uncle, just bounced around. And then I thought as I was doing this, if I can find this in 15 minutes, do you know what every HR department is doing? See, this man had a bad idea of dating where he worked. And like I said, this place had a lot of black folk who were just as messy as anything on social media, just older. And this is not the first time a rumor about him spun around because he got sick. He had a chronic condition. He got sick some years ago. And in getting sick, these same kind of rumors were swarmed around him. Then, all kind of different stories. My friend called, got disrespected, and said, I'm good, you don't have to worry about me. Because she was truly concerned and he didn't want anybody to know how sick he was. Well, he couldn't return to work. But if I have all this information about him, what do you think HR departments with real background check ability would do? And like I said, his living record says he had bounced around from relative to relative. He would never have it that good again. But see, for a minute in the job he was doing, hint, hint, clue, clue. He's the bus driver that Ebony K. Williams didn't want to marry. Even though in San Francisco, that gives you the first reference of being a high-value man. 100K, 110K if you got some seniority. He had to quit before retirement. He already had a chronic illness. Wasn't taking care of it. Bouncing from house to house to house. His employment record was showing all this instability. And, city to city, place to place. His employment record was showing all his background check is showing all this information to the world. And at the end, however it ended up, it is so bad that his family had to clean up like he was Stockton Rush. Stockton Rush, in total, messed with people with 10 figures worth of stuff. He took some billionaires with him. He was a millionaire. He grew up here in San Francisco, was rich. So this is a man who managed to get it so his wife had to disavow any knowledge of his actions on 10 figures worth of stuff. If you manage to do this on 6 figures worth of stuff, living an average life, working an average job, and you manage to do this, what you end up doing is blotting out your entire legacy. Because here's the other thing. If everybody's social media is down, that means there's no GoFundMe either. I checked. How would you do it? I checked his friends' pages for any information. Because, remember I told you, if a great man dies who is faithful, one of his great uncles passed away. People are coming up years later posting their tributes when they find out. So you figure one of his friends would have had something to say, one of his relatives. Gone with the wind. Nothing. 2 weeks after the fact. Well, maybe 3 weeks after the fact now. Maybe 4, actually. Nothing. Kevin Samuels, 53. Had some heart conditions going on. Was busy living his high-value lifestyle. Was with a woman, fornicating with a woman he was not married to, and left here at 53. I thought of that. I also thought about the second saddest thing that I ever saw in the manosphere. I'll tell you the first saddest thing. It's a foil on what I told you about the first part about Pastor Maria. The saddest thing I ever saw in the manosphere, and I didn't even let anybody know I was there. I just listened. There was a gentleman who was there, and his nickname was Force Windu. And I watched these men give tribute to him. Dr. T. Hassan Johnson of the Honors Report hosted it. And I just listened. Force Windu, don't know his real name, did not look into it. The pressure got too much for him. He was doing the things, though, he was supposed to do when it happened. And all these people gave him honor, and these men said, we're going to watch out for his wife and his children, because that's what he was concerned about when his life ended. He just couldn't go any further. He was just exhausted. It was so sad, and at the same time, the honor that he was given was there. But that brings me to the second saddest thing that I think I ever saw, and that also was presented by Dr. T. Hassan Johnson. He's more thoughtful of the manosphere figures, one of the more thoughtful. Black men in search of a good eulogy. The idea is many black men have given up on the honor of this world that they're never going to find the respect that they feel they desperately need. And they're out here living, trying to do stuff for people and hoping that someone will have something good to say about them at their eulogy. Meaning that they believe their life will only be seen in its value at death. Well, if you play around long enough, even the good eulogy will be denied you. My friend said to me, you know, that's what happened to so-and-so. It had been 2 decades since a man tried to play that way with me. And when he passed on, the same thing happened. He went to a potter's grave. Now, I know that there are some black women who have been hurt enough by the playing around of evil black men that they're like, that's what they get. And it is. But because I have been raised by, and because I have seen black men raising themselves in honor from the ages of 30 to, my dad is going to be 86. Because Sergeant Love and Pastor McNeil are part of my world, and because some of my students and their students have grown up to be men of honor also. Actually, no, 25. I forgot about me. 25. I hate to see this happen to someone. To anyone. When it doesn't need to. When there is a path to honor for black men. The Lord Jesus is the faithful and true one, and was the perfect man. Therefore, and I know a lot of people don't believe that, but follow me. If that is the path of perfection, and realizing we can't be perfect here, you know, having 9 figures that way, having 9 or 10 figures worth of resources does not give you that. Learn how to be faithful with yourself and with the hearts of the people that are in the world around you. And maybe not spread yourself out piece by piece, because you're going to get a piecemeal ending. you follow Kevin Samuels' advice, you may get Kevin Samuels results. Literally, this man's legacy has sunk like the Titan. And he never got to play around with 9 or 10 figure money. He never got to sit with millionaires and billionaires before it went to pieces. All he ever will be is a bus driver who's in whatever it was, because I still don't have a complete answer. His legacy from his family and friends is being completely shut out and disappeared. The search for a good eulogy will not be possible. His public record will tell the story of the instability of his life. How he had to live on his older relatives. His public record will forever say that. And that actually is not something I want for anyone. I don't want that for black men either. But it's a choice. You keep doing what you know is wrong. You keep playing around with other people. You keep thinking you can live like this. And by the way, bonus point, San Francisco Bay Area, you up here laying up with people around here. The only possibly more dangerous part for your black behind to be laying up with all kind of people is maybe Atlanta. And I'll put in a good word for New Orleans. But that's not what you want, especially if you already have chronic conditions and you're not getting checked out for those. It brings me no joy to tell a story like this. As God said it in the Old Testament, I have no pleasure in the death of him that dies. None. But I do need to put it out. There's a choice to be made, gentlemen. A woman can't tell a man how to be. I can tell you what I observe. I want you to win, gentlemen. I want you to win. So I set before you, as the Bible also says, the way of life and the way of death, and the tale of these two men. One has a legacy that will stand as long as the buildings do, and as long as one person is alive that ever had their life changed by Pastor Kiva. This other gentleman, I know his name, but it's not for me to bring him out of the obscurity that his family has put him in. Not me. And y'all know I don't put names out on people that mess up in general, unless I have to, unless it's a unless it's a very well-known situation, I don't put that information out. Choice is yours. You can have a legacy that stands for eternity, or it can be gone with the wind. Tell it to black men. It's your decision, gentlemen. And ladies, it's our decision who we deal with. Don't look for how many figures he makes. First, look for, is he faithful with what he has? First, is he honest? Is he truthful? Is he dependable? Look for those things first. Do you have core values? First. And then use your background checking, Spokeo, SPOKEO.com, to find out what else he's working with. The gentleman who asked me out for the coffee date looked good on paper in terms of that, but chose not to do that. Partially chose to do well. That's a long story. But on paper, all right. Anyway, Spokeo.com, very useful tool. They're going to ask you to sign up for a 7-day trial, and I have the $30 a month plan, which is not bad. I couldn't get everything, but I got enough to be able to tell me what I've shared with y'all. All right, y'all have a good day now. I'm going to head back to the house. I did a lot of chores this morning. I've still got a few things I probably should do this evening. I got work, all that, but enjoying the summer day and sharing some of it. All right, bye.